Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I am the guy who picked Kana Watanabe to defeat Liz Carmouche in the rematch. And I'm here to talk about Anthony Smith versus Roman Dolidze. And for this fight, I'm going with Anthony Smith. I think Anthony Smith has taken this fight under better conditions. He took it on a few weeks' notice, whereas Roman Dolidze took it on a few days' notice. So I'm assuming Smith is probably in better shape. And you combine that with the fact that Roman Dolidze's biggest liability is his cardio. And it's got me siding with Anthony Smith. Also, this is a light heavyweight bout. Not that that really matters too much. Both guys have fought at middleweight and light heavyweight and welterweight if you're Anthony Smith. But here it's at light heavyweight, which is good for the weight cut for these guys. But I'm picking Smith because I think he's, again, going to be in a little better shape here. And I think despite him having so many knockout losses, he's been relatively healthy as a light heavyweight. And I think he'll be able to stand up to the danger of Roman Dolidze early. And there is going to be danger early. Roman Dolidze brings a storm. He's a very physical, dangerous fighter. Got knockout power, that magical touch. He's got it in his knees, his spinning back fists, and his punches as well. The guy brings the danger. Roman Dolidze, though, he's been defeated 3 times. All are by decision, and they're all in the UFC. He lost to Marvin Vettori and Trevin Giles in very close fights, even though I thought he lost both of them. And he lost to Nassourdine Imavov in what, on paper, is a pretty close fight because it was a majority decision. But Roman Dolidze largely got beaten up in that fight, and he almost got finished early. But he did a good job surviving. I mean, he went 5 rounds. Wasn't the prettiest effort, and he did take a beating, but he didn't go anywhere. So, if nothing else, he showed his toughness. And he is very tough. It seems like he'd be a tough guy for Anthony Smith to get out of there, even with all of Anthony Smith's skills. Roman Dolidze, he's got it going on the feet, but he's better as a grappler. He's a solid grappler. He's only got 3 submissions, but he's definitely shown to have grappling at the UFC level. He got all 3 submissions in his first 3 fights as well. 2 via heel hook, 1 via rear naked choke. And that heel hook, it's something he can't cling to because I think he learned a lesson in the Trevin Giles fight where he tried to lace up a leg and got pounded on. And that was a pivotal moment in the fight and led to his loss. But Roman still has a lot of skills on the ground. I mean, I'll point to that Jack Hermanson fight. That's one of the best wins ever for anybody. The way he finished Jack Hermanson, who's a beast on the ground, and he got him in that calf slicer surfboard thing or whatever, and did that pretty deep into the fight in round 2. So that's about as good a win as he's going to get, probably his best win. And yeah, that was a pretty highlight. On the feet, we've seen him steamroll Phil Hawes, which, whatever. I don't know how impressive that is because Phil Hawes has one of the shittiest chins on the planet. But he also broke the face of Kyle Dawkins, smashed him with a knee in a minute. That was an impressive win. Did the same thing to Kadis Ibrahimov, got him out of there with a knee and punches in round 1. That was in his UFC debut. And before coming to the UFC, he had a few beautiful knockouts. Round 2 knockout over this guy, Eder da Silva, and a round 3 spinning back fist over Mikhail Pasternak in a championship fight. A guy definitely brings the danger. But I'm counting on Anthony Smith to be able to survive, even though Smith has so many finish losses. Many of them take place in the early portion of his career. He's a guy who has suffered many losses. If I was him, I would have retired when I was 2-7 with 7 finishes as losses. But he's got a lot of grit and a lot of heart. And Anthony Smith turned himself into an excellent fighter. He made himself an excellent welterweight, but then got better at middleweight, and as light heavyweight, he made it to the championship fight against John Jones, headlined the UFC pay-per-view. So he's had an incredible career, and it is absolutely due to his heart more than anything else. He is lion hard. But Anthony Smith, he's got a lot of mileage on him. And despite him being TKO'd a lot in the early portion of his career, it still is 11 TKO losses for a guy that's 35 years old, which, by the way, he's actually a week younger than Roman Dolidze, if you can believe that. Roman's a little older than him by like 10 days or whatever. But Smith still has way more mileage, as Indiana Jones will tell you. It's all about the mileage, not the age. And Smith is a warhorse. So when I'm picking him, and I am picking him and betting on him, there's always this trepidation because I feel like if things get rough, whose wheels will fall off before the other guy's wheels because suddenly they're in cars now. That's how I got to make my fucking point. But Smith is still very dangerous. Proved that against Vitor Petrino. Got a big upset with a guillotine a few months ago. Uh, his win before that was against Ryan Spann in a very close fight. Grueling split decision where he was really beaten up, but he pulled through and got a decision. And of course, he tapped out Ryan Spann in his win before that. So Anthony Smith is still proven to be a viable light heavyweight. His losses come to top fighters: Johnny Walker, Magomed Ankalaev, Khalil Roundtree, and before that was Rakic and Glover Teixeira. And those are his light heavyweight losses. Those and the John Jones unanimous decision. So he's been in there mixing it up with the very best. And even though he's got all these strikes against his chin on paper, the only guy to really crack his chin as a light heavyweight was Khalil Roundtree. He had him doing a little dance, and he got TKO'd. But the other TKO losses are due to different circumstances. Being mauled by Glover Teixeira, and that was a round 5 mauling, and Magomed Ankalaev, where Anthony Smith fucked up his leg in that fight. I don't know what exactly happened, but bit of a schmaz finish, even though I thought he was going to lose the fight. So I'm picking Anthony Smith to survive the early danger of Roman Dolidze, and I half expect Roman Dolidze to lean into the danger early because he knows he's taking this fight on short notice, and he may not have the gas tank, and it may not behoove him to fight long. He might just be better off putting his foot on the gas and trying to go through Anthony Smith because as durable as he's looked as a light heavyweight, he's still a guy that's been finished a bunch of times. So I'm siding with Anthony Smith. I've got him winning a decision because no other, Roman Dolidze hasn't been beaten any other way. And I've bet on Anthony Smith, and I'll wait to see the props if there's anything else. And as for Roman Dolidze winning, I suppose a decision is possible, but I would say a round 1 destruction is his primary path to victory. I'm not saying I'll bet on that, but I'll look at it. So Smith by decision is the pick. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit, and check out my other videos.